We start this edition of the show from the global scene, where thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters rallied across Europe and Australia on Saturday, marking the approach of the first anniversary of the October 7 Hamas attacks on Israel. In Belgrade, around 200 demonstrators gathered waving Palestinian flags and chanting slogans against Israel's foreign policy. Protest organizer Mijlo Nikolic criticized the Serbian government's support for Israel. In Rome, police clashed with a violent minority among the crowd after a peaceful demonstration was disrupted, resulting in the use of tear gas and water cannons. Major rallies are planned across Europe, culminating on Monday, the anniversary of the attacks. Similar protests occurred along Australian cities, where demonstrators showed solidarity with Palestinians and the Lebanese. The ongoing conflict has claimed over 41,000 Palestinian lives and left nearly 100 Israeli hostages in Gaza. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, Israel's foreign minister announced that UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is barred from entering the country for his failure to unequivocally condemn Iran's missile attack on Israel. We will also be looking at President Tinubu's speech on October 1 back home here in Nigeria. Experienced diplomat and former Consul General of Nigeria in Atlanta, USA, Ambassador Joe Keshi joins me now on the show. He will be providing more insights into developments going on in the Middle East, as well as Nigeria at 64. What next for Nigeria at 64? Ambassador Joe Keshi, thank you very much for joining me on this Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show. Well, let's start on the foreign scene, and then we'll come back home. Well, tomorrow, October 7, it will be exactly 1 year since that attack on Israel by Hamas. And a lot has happened since then with the crisis, conflict, war, as it were, resulting in a three-front war, where Israel is saying that it will wipe out Hamas and, if possible, Gaza. It will deal with Houthi rebels that are in Syria and Yemen, and that it will teach Hezbollah a lesson in Lebanon. On the sidelines, you have Iran, you have the United States, and the allies, and you have the United Nations. The United Nations saying, look, pull back from the brink. War will not help anybody. Up to a point that Antonio Guterres has been declared a persona non grata by the United States. And all the gladiators are saying, we're ready for war. Hezbollah says it will fight. Iran is saying there will be consequences. Israel is saying, we are ready. We can hit right straight to the heart of Iran, if possible, and anywhere in the Middle East. Where does this leave us? The failure of diplomacy. You are a diplomat. Does it look like diplomacy has failed in the Middle East?
Thank you, and good evening, Ruben, and thanks for having me. Your analysis, I think you missed one other crucial group that have, out of self-interest, they have maintained splendid silence. You've missed the Arab group itself, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the rest. Of course, countries like Kuwait and co have been very helpful in trying to find, in trying to make a deal so that peace could reign. But look, the truth remains about the demonstration that you started with. It has been the tradition of the people of the Palestine and the Arab world on occasions like this, irrespective of their losses, to demonstrate, and to celebrate to some extent, what they thought or what they believe they have achieved. But we are in a dire situation here in the Middle East. And unfortunately, you have also, on both sides, what I call irrational leaders who are not listening to anything but their own self-interest. And this is what is, to a large extent, driving, the war. And I think on one occasion I was on your program or Arise Morning Show. I did quote Chino Achebe that said, it is sometimes good for the strong man to behave like the weak man, And I thought that having done so much damage and destruction and having hit Hamas in a way that it would take Hamas years to recover, and having done what they are now doing to Hezbollah, that the Israelis would have, reflected if they have not done enough and focus on the main issue of getting the hostages back home. But no, the ambition of one man is driving the whole process of this destruction. But the truth of the matter is that no matter how long this war lasts, Hamas, even if they survive, if there are only 10, 15 left of the Hamas population, they will regroup. That I can assure you. Hezbollah will regroup. They will rebuild. This is not the first time we are saying this, but this is just on a wider scale, and Israel attack has been disproportionate. But the truth of the matter is that after the last incident, both parties have rebuilt. Hamas have rebuilt, Hezbollah have rebuilt, which has led to this stage. And if we do not find a way to sort out this situation today, they will rebuild, and some years from now, we will be, of course, come back to another war. This is almost 75 or 76 years since the creation of the State of Israel, and periodically it's been one war after the other. So the leaders must come to their senses and decide that enough is enough and try to find peace. We all say, the rest of the Western world, of course, you know what they say? Israel has the right to defend itself, but I wish they can also add a clause and try to persuade Israel that, look, you've done enough. You've done enough damage. You've killed so many people. We understand where you are coming from. But look, let's find peace. It is time to find a solution, a lasting solution to this crisis that has occupied the world and the globe for over 75 years.
Okay, where are we right now? Because the U.S. is saying that it has advised Israel not to attack Iranian nuclear sites because that would be a red line that should not be crossed. The British, they're saying, well, they are not too sure whether some of their military hardware should be used by Israel in the war. U.S. is saying a similar thing. U.S. and 10 allies, including the U.K., Canada, the Gulf states, they're saying, okay, there should be a 21-day ceasefire. Israel is saying no, until total victory is assured. And now they've even said the United Nations Secretary General is persona non grata. Where does that leave us? At the doorstep of World War III, or you think it will not get to that point?
No, Ruben, I think we exaggerate the whole situation. When I hear analysts talk of World War III, who's going to fight this? Who's going to fight this World War III? The Russians are not involved. The Chinese are not involved. The Arab League is not involved. They have maintained what I call splendid silence. Egypt will never go to war. They are very weak. Saudi Arabia wants to maintain its lifestyle and development. Jordan, Saudi Arabia are among those who are providing safety nets for Israel. So who are you? Look, the war is going to continue to be between the State of Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis in Yemen. And it's kind of localized, and it's going to stay there. Except something dramatic happens to the nation of Israel, then you see a couple of, Israelis allies coming in to rescue Israel. But as it is today, Israel is the most powerful nation in that place. They know this, and this is why most of the Arab states are keeping quiet. And this is why I talk of irrational leaders. What Hamas did about a year ago was irrational. What the Israelis have been doing today is also completely irrational, and it's been driven by personal ambition. Look, you cannot destroy these groups. They've been there for as long as the State of Israel itself. destroy them today, they are going to rise again. And by the way, the tragedy of all this is that when you look at the capacity that Israel has, Israel, honestly, if not that they are acting out of rage and anger, and annoyance, Israel could have pursued this war in a far more different, adopted a different strategy. Israel knows all the, all the tunnels in Gaza. They know all the tunnels. They've gone there before, destroyed a couple of tunnels. So if they are not being driven by range, they could have gone in, destroy all the tunnels, look for their hostages, and rescue their hostages. But they choose to bomb the whole population and punish. Look, this is no longer war. This is punishment against innocent civilians in Lebanon and Gaza. If you think I'm not right, look at what they did before they went to Lebanon. They first of all completely demobilized the communication system. It shows you the capacity of Israel that whatever strategy they want to adopt, they can do so much. But they choose out of rage to do what they are doing now. So it's going to continue until somewhere along the line, maybe when they are tired. Sometimes it's not a failure of diplomacy. The truth of the matter is that sometimes crises come to a halt, or when the leaders think that they are tired, they've done enough, and they can't see their way out of it, they now begin to find a way out of the whole situation. But as it is, we are going to continue to see the bombardment of Lebanon and Gaza. And unfortunately, there's nobody that can stop them. The Israelis are not listening to the United States. And Ruben, the most important thing we need to always bear in mind is that this is an election year in the United States. And no candidate and no president in the United States today is going to say something different from what you are hearing.
Okay, Ambassador, just take us through the significance of tomorrow, October 7, because it's also the month of a special festival in Israel. And there will be memories, among the persons who have been involved, who have lost their loved ones, who have their families, relatives held as hostages still in Gaza, and who may have died in the process. October 7.
Yeah, look, it's unfortunate. Tomorrow is going to be a very sad day for many of those who say have their loved ones being held by Hamas. I wouldn't be surprised if the family members and their supporters decide to demonstrate tomorrow. But this is also, look, the people of Israel are really going to come together probably to remember the people who are still being held hostages. And anywhere in the world, I guess by the way, the president of Israel has asked Jews all over the world, to mark the day, and a day of remembrance for those who are still being held hostages and for what Israel is going through. So you can see that, look, the emotion that will come out of this whole thing, it's going to either compel, which I doubt, the leadership of Israel to think twice, or it's going to increase the rage. And they will continue to pursue the policy that they are driving now.
And I guess emotions will just be as high on the Palestinian side, because they've lost thousands of people.
Look.
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Which is unfortunate. Look, those thousands of people who died. If only we can we can collect the data and check. Many of those who died are not Hamas soldiers. You saw on one occasion that I think in the same Gaza, when Hamas soldiers, if they are going to bury somebody, you see them come out in their hundreds. Innocent people. In any case, in most crises, in most war like this, is the innocent people, particularly women and children in particular, who have no idea of why they are being killed. That suffers most.
Well, Ambassador, let me go back to Lebanon. Now, the Australians are evacuating their people in large numbers. The British, they are evacuating their people. They are issuing travel alerts. Well, Nigeria has not been behind in this regard. The Nigerian Diaspora Commission has already advised Nigerians in Lebanon, and we have quite a significant number of our compatriots in Lebanon. They've also been told to take advantage of the fact that commercial flights are still available and leave. But it is disturbing to hear that Nigerians in Lebanon are saying they are not going anywhere. They don't want to come back home. Why is that so? Other citizens from other parts of the world are leaving. Nigerians are saying, let whatever will happen, happen. We are not leaving Lebanon. What does that say about us?
Ruben, I wish I know. You know why I'm laughing? I had this experience in Sierra Leone when law and order completely broke down in Freetown. But before then, we had anticipated that something like that would happen. And led by the ambassador, we went around the country, trying to meet various Nigerian groups and communities. And we pleaded with them that, look, they should be ready. And we were actually, spending the meager resources of the mission, to try to get them to come together so that we can actually take them out of the country before the disaster we were expecting. We collected a list of less than 5,000 people, but on the day that country totally collapsed, we had 20,000 Nigerians on our hands to deal with that were not registered. They did not take part in the registration, and we had sent a message. So sometimes when people blame diplomats and the government, they need to know the truth. We had sent a message to headquarters that, look, we probably have between 5,000 to 6,000 people that we have to evacuate. And so if they are working out something, this is the number. But on the day the rebels invaded Freetown in particular, and the country collapsed, we had 20,000 Nigerians. Even one character that I always remember wasn't, if every party you go to Freetown, you say this guy there, he never associated with Nigeria, but on the day itself, he came to the embassy with his Nigerian passport and said he should be evacuated. You understand? So, but this was a couple of years ago. I think that people just think that the country is not going in the right direction, and they do not visualize what they are going to come back home and do. And so I think they are studying the situation in Lebanon, that for now, the crisis is between Hamas and Israel. I'm not too sure. Look, even the Lebanese government has not been saying too much. They seem to be just sitting down and have adopted an attitude of wait and see. So the mindset of the Nigerians is that, look, I've been building a life here. What am I going to do at home? So let me just wait out and see. As long as I'm not, on the firing line, I just wait this out. Except, of course, if the government decides that they want to help, they might be prepared to come back home. But so far, there's been no assistance from the government, no promised assistance, from the government, apart from the advice that they should return quickly before the situation gets out of control.
Well, very quickly, Ambassador Keshi, Nigeria at 64. What next? Do you think the president succeeded in giving us enough hope in his October 1 address?
No. Ruben, I think most analysts, there's a national consensus that the wrong speech was delivered on 1st October. 1st October is not actually a day to celebrate the successes we do not see. 1st of October, and I also say days like June 12th, they're not the days to, parrot achievements that we do not see. These are the days in which the speech of the president should be inspirational. These are the days in which the speech of the president should be pointing to the future and giving us real hope of where he's leading the country to. In situation, look, you need to go back and see situations like this where presidents have gone on to make national broadcasts. It's always an inspirational speech that pushes, that encourages the people to have hope, that creates, in the mindset of the Nigerians, that actually arouses your nationalism and patriotism, giving that assurance that, yes, things are difficult, but guess what? We have a mission, when we get to our destination, and you ask for the support of the people. But it must be inspirational. It must excite the people. It must create hope to the people. Ruben, set your mind back many years ago, and I always refer people to go back and read again the inaugural address of JFK. My generation, you know, for many years, we are all quoting and requoting and quoting that speech because it was inspirational. It was, in fact, it inspired so many Americans, the young ones of my age. And when the Challenger in the United States, when the Challenger gave up, blew up in the sky, Reagan was asleep. And when they showed him the picture, the footage of the Challenger that collapsed, and they said, we have started giving a speech, the president said, no, if I deliver this speech, this kind of speech, America will not go to the moon again. And they had to change the speech. And they gave a speech that made everybody to believe in America.
On this note, Ambassador Keshi, sorry to interrupt you. We need to go to Port Harcourt to find out what is going on there. The swearing in of the newly elected local government chairman. I would like to thank you very much for joining us on This Day Live, the Sunday talk show today.